About a dozen people are running for the Republican nomination for president. And in order to make it on the first debate stage in August, they need to meet some requirements that have been set by the Republican Party. One of them includes having 40,000 unique donors. So far, 7 candidates, including Donald Trump and most of his biggest challengers, have met that threshold. But former Vice President Mike Pence and 4 others have not. And that's not the only marker candidates need to meet. To fill us in on the rest of the requirements, we are joined by CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. So, Ed, remind us what the other hurdles are that these candidates need to leap over, and how likely is it that they're going to be able to?
Yeah, well, essentially, John, you've got to be hitting at least 1% in 2 national polls and then 1% in 2 statewide polls in Nevada, New Hampshire, or Iowa, South Carolina. In essence, you've got to be putting up at least, this is the crazy thing, you've been asking donors for $1 so you can get to the 40,000 donor limit, and then you got to be putting up at least 1% 4 times in 2 different kinds of polls. In essence, it's just demonstrating viability or forward momentum. Those 7 candidates that you had there on the left have basically all gotten there or are going to get there when there's at least 1 or 2 other statewide or national polls released in the coming days, and then they'll be officially in per the RNC rules. It's the 5 on the other side that may not make it ultimately. Of them, probably the most intriguing would be the former Vice President Mike Pence, who certainly hits the polling mark, but is struggling to get to those 40,000 donors. He continues to insist it will happen by the time the debate rolls around, but that it hasn't happened so far demonstrates that he has a real struggle in building grassroots support.
The super PAC that is backing Senator Tim Scott's presidential campaign is planning a big, expensive, the most expensive, I think, ad campaign for the race so far. What do you make of that? What kind of an impact could that have? And do we have any sense of what the message will be?
Yeah, $40 million coming at a time when Scott is starting to show legs in Iowa and New Hampshire especially. He is, of course, South Carolina's junior senator, so he'll have some home field advantage there. It's a reminder that he's in this race with already $20 million in his bank account when he began the year because he raised so much as a Senate candidate. But then to have this super PAC being able to spend tens of millions more on his behalf on the air is just an example of the kind of candidate who may not get talked about a lot right now earlier in the season, but who clearly is going to have resources to go the distance into January and February and potentially make a mark. And so you've seen a handful of people who may have been favoring Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who are willing to cut big checks, hold back and say, well, let's see if Tim Scott can pull this off. Those ads, more than anything, though, will boost his name recognition, will probably boost intrigue in him in the early states, therefore boost turnout to his events. And then we'll see how much more of a factor he becomes once those ads start hitting the air.
And I want to, since you're in front of the White House, let's not forget the incumbent. And you took note of something that the vice president was up to on the campaign trail, or at least out in the country today. What was it that you took note of?
So remember, we've been hearing from Democrats, from independents, from Americans generally, where is the vice president? What does she do? When is she going to get out there? And then we've heard from the White House and the Biden campaign that she is going to be out there. She's going to have a big presence and be responsible for really rallying the base. Well, it began today with an appearance in Indianapolis at a conference hosted by a major black sorority. And it's the first of a series of events and appearances she's going to make at things like the NAACP conference, a major gun safety conference later this summer. There'll be some other appearances with Latino and education groups as well. The base of the Democratic Party. Appear before those groups and the influencers that are drawn to those meetings so that they go home and say, gosh, I saw the vice president. You know, I have a lot more confidence in her now. It'll boost the numbers. That's at least what the White House and the campaign is hoping. She picked up on something that Florida has done. Remember, Governor DeSantis and the legislature down there were pushing for changes in how issues of race are taught in schools, and she knocked it in that speech today. Let's take a listen quickly to what she said.
Extremists pass book bans to prevent them from learning our true history. Just yesterday in the state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
There'll be more about this in the coming days, and what she's describing, at least supporters of the law would say, isn't entirely true. But either way, using the official trappings of the job to inadvertently, indirectly, or perhaps directly take on a potential Republican opponent. We're going to see more of this from her in the weeks ahead.
Ed O'Keefe at the White House. Thank you, Ed.